cultivating inner stillness amidst digital noise. Have you noticed how, in the middle of the night, when everything is quiet, you reach for your phone without even thinking? A single notification lights up the screen, and suddenly, your mind is wide awake, scrolling, swiping, diving into a sea of other people's thoughts. It's strange, isn't it? We live in the noisiest silence in human history. Our world today hums with invisible signals, messages, alerts, videos, updates, all chasing for our attention. The digital world was built to connect us, but somewhere along the way, it began to scatter us. We are surrounded by voices, yet we've forgotten the sound of our own. So how do we reclaim it? How do we create a stillness so deep that the noise outside no longer shakes us inside? Buddhist wisdom offers a surprisingly practical answer, and it begins not by running away from technology, but by learning to be present with it, and in spite of it. The first step, notice the pull. In Buddhism, awareness is the seed of transformation. Before we can calm the mind, we have to notice what's pulling it away. Every ping, every red dot, every autoplay video is designed to trigger a small spike of craving. It's not your fault you feel pulled, it's the way the system was built. Here's a little experiment you can try today. The next time you feel the urge to check your phone, pause. Just for 5 seconds. Don't fight it, don't shame yourself, just notice the feeling. That small gap is like opening a window in a crowded room. Suddenly, fresh air can flow in. The second step, create pockets of silence. Think of your day as a long river. The digital current is strong, but you can carve out quiet coves along the way. Buddhist monks often begin their mornings in stillness, not because they reject the world, but because they want to meet it from a place of clarity. What if, for the first 15 minutes after you wake up, you didn't touch your phone? Instead, you sat with your coffee, looked at the morning light, and let your mind arrive in the day before the world arrived in your mind. This isn't about a digital detox or disappearing into the mountains. It's about creating micro-moments of peace within your normal life. The third step, anchor in the breath. In the Buddha's teaching, the breath is not just air, it's a home you can return to at any moment. You can be in the middle of a crowded subway, in a noisy cafe, or scrolling through an overwhelming newsfeed, and still find a small island of calm in your breath. Try this. When the noise feels too much, take one slow breath in, one slow breath out. Feel it fully. That's it. One conscious breath might not silence the world, but it can silence the storm inside you, if only for a moment. And moments are where peace grows. The fourth step, reclaim your attention. Your attention is the most valuable currency you own, and everyone is trying to spend it for you. But Buddhist practice teaches us that attention is also power. When you choose where to place it, you are choosing the shape of your mind, your day, and your life. Set small, gentle boundaries. Turn off non-essential notifications. Designate certain times for emails or social media instead of checking them constantly. Give yourself one activity each day that you do without a screen. Cooking, walking, gardening, and be fully there. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, even boring. But boredom is not the enemy. In fact, boredom is the doorway to creativity, insight, and true rest. The fifth step, live from the inside out. One of the Buddha's central teachings is that peace does not come from controlling the outside world. It comes from transforming how we relate to it. You can't stop the internet from buzzing. You can't stop the world from shouting. But you can train yourself to listen differently. When you stop letting every beep and headline dictate your mood, something shifts. You begin to move through life with the calm steadiness of a mountain, while the winds of the digital storm rush by without uprooting you. A personal reflection. I once spent a week in a small cabin with no Wi-Fi, thinking I would hate it. The first day felt like withdrawal. I kept reaching for a phone that had nothing to give me. But by the third day, something unexpected happened. I started hearing sounds I had forgotten. The hum of the wind, the rhythm of my own footsteps, the subtle music of rain on the roof. When I returned to the city, the noise was still there, but I was different. I carried that inner stillness with me, like a candle that doesn't go out just because the street is noisy. The invitation. Cultivating inner stillness amidst digital noise is not about perfection. It's about creating space, small, steady spaces, where your mind can rest. The Buddha taught that even a drop of water, if it falls steadily, will eventually fill a jar. Your moments of stillness are those drops. So tonight, before you let the glow of your screen pull you into another endless scroll, pause. Feel your breath. Notice the quiet that's been waiting for you all along. That quiet is not something you have to create, it's something you already are. In a world that's always shouting for your attention, stillness is not just a luxury, it's an act of courage. Cultivating inner stillness in a hyper-connected world. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by endless notifications, social media feeds, and the constant hum of your digital life? Like your mind has become a battlefield, every vibration, every pop-up, every breaking headline fighting for your attention, until true peace feels almost impossible to find? You're not alone. We live in an age where silence has become rare, and stillness almost feels unnatural. Think about it. Even in the quietest moments, our pockets buzz, our wrists vibrate, our screens light up. We've created a world where being constantly reachable is normal, but being truly present is rare. The irony. We've never been more connected, yet so many of us feel disconnected, not just from each other, but from ourselves. The cost of constant noise. Digital noise doesn't always sound loud. Sometimes, it's a low hum, a background static that's always there. It's the mental load of unanswered emails, the curiosity triggered by a half-read notification, the subtle pressure to check just one more thing. Science tells us that every time we switch tasks, from work to a message, from reading to a social media scroll, our brain takes time to reorient. That's why a quick check of Instagram often turns into 20 minutes of drifting. It's not just about lost time, it's about fragmented attention. And fragmented attention means a fragmented self. Buddhist wisdom for a modern problem. The Buddha lived over 2,500 years ago, in a world without Wi-Fi, smartphones, or infinite scrolling. Yet his teachings on the mind feel like they were written for us. He spoke of samsara, the endless cycle of distraction, craving, and dissatisfaction. Sound familiar? The heart of Buddhist practice is about coming home to the present moment, no matter what storms are swirling outside. It's about finding a quiet center, even when the world feels loud. Step 1. Notice before you react. Here's the thing. The digital world is designed to provoke instant reactions. The moment your phone dings, you're trained to respond. But mindfulness teaches us that between stimulus and response, there's a space, and in that space lies your freedom. Next time you hear a notification, don't grab your phone right away. Just notice the pull. Notice the way your mind leaps toward it. That tiny moment of observation is like putting a drop of clear water into a muddy glass. Slowly, things begin to settle. Step 2. Carve out sacred silence. In Buddhist monasteries, silence isn't an absence, it's a presence. It's a space where the mind can breathe. You can create your own version of this in the middle of modern life. What if you started your mornings without a screen for the first 15 minutes? Instead of diving into the digital tide, you could watch the light change in your room, taste your coffee without distraction, feel the gentle rhythm of your breath. 15 minutes might not sound like much, but it's amazing how that small island of calm can shape the tone of your day. Step 3. Anchor in the breath. No matter where you are, in traffic, in a meeting, waiting in line, your breath is always there. In Buddhist practice, the breath is more than just oxygen. It's a tether to the here and now. Try it now. 1 slow breath in, 1 slow breath out. It doesn't stop the noise outside, but it can quiet the noise inside. And that's where stillness begins. Step 4. Protect your attention like treasure. Your attention is a currency, and every platform is competing for it. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us that what we repeatedly focus on shapes who we become. If you constantly give your attention away to digital noise, your mind learns to live in noise. Set small boundaries. Turn off non-essential notifications. Have screen-free meals. Choose one daily activity, cooking, walking, even folding laundry, and give it your undivided attention. It might feel strange at first, even uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the sign that you're breaking free from an old habit. Step 5. Live from the inside out. One of the most powerful lessons in Buddhism is that peace isn't about controlling the outside world. It's about mastering your inner response. You can't stop the endless flow of information. You can't mute the entire internet, but you can learn to meet it with steadiness. When you cultivate stillness inside, you stop being tossed around by every headline, every opinion, every urgent notification. You start to live from the inside out, rather than the outside in. A personal moment. I remember once traveling to a remote cabin with no Wi-Fi. At first, I was restless, even anxious. I kept reaching for a phone that had nothing to show me. But on the third day, something shifted. I started noticing details I'd forgotten to see. The soft creak of the wooden floor, the slow drift of clouds across the sky, the way my thoughts moved when they weren't interrupted. When I returned to the city, the noise was still there, but I was different. I carried a quiet center with me, and that quiet changed the way I moved through the world. The invitation. Cultivating inner stillness in a digital age isn't about becoming a monk or throwing away your devices. It's about learning to be here, fully, even when the world tries to pull you elsewhere. Tonight, when you feel the urge to scroll just one more time before bed, pause. Place your phone down. Take one deep breath. Notice the space that opens inside you. That's your stillness, and no algorithm, no feed, no notification can take it from you. In a world addicted to speed, choosing stillness is an act of quiet rebellion. And maybe, just maybe, it's exactly the rebellion we need. From digital overwhelm to inner stillness. Picture this. You're scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. You tell yourself it's just for a minute, but then you look up, and somehow 2 hours have vanished. Your coffee has gone cold. Your to-do list is untouched. And your mind. It feels like a browser with too many tabs open, sluggish, overheated, and overwhelmed. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. The digital world is designed to keep us hooked, always refreshing, always consuming, always chasing the next update. But here's the thing nobody tells you. You can't scroll your way into peace. And you can't catch up on the internet, because it never stops moving. So, what if instead of letting technology hijack your peace, you learn how to turn that overwhelm into stillness? What if the very moments that drain you could become doorways back to yourself? The hidden cost of constant connection. Most of us think of noise as sound, a blaring TV, a loud street, a chatty coworker. But digital noise is different. It's silent but constant. It lives in the back of your mind, whispering, check your messages. See who liked your post. Don't miss the latest headline. Research shows that each time you switch from one task to another, your brain takes time to recover focus. That's why you can spend the whole day busy and still feel like you got nothing done. It's not just time you're losing, it's clarity. And here's the truth. A restless mind can't find peace, no matter how much you accomplish. Buddhist wisdom for the digital age. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha spoke of monkey mind, a mind that jumps from thought to thought, never still, never satisfied. Sound familiar? It's almost as if he was describing our modern scrolling habits. Buddhism teaches that freedom begins with awareness. You can't calm a storm you don't see. And in our digital age, the first step to stillness is simply noticing the pull. Step 1. Notice the habit loop. Here's something you can try right now. The next time you feel the urge to check your phone, don't fight it, just pause. Ask yourself, what am I looking for? You might be seeking entertainment, or connection, or maybe you're just avoiding a moment of boredom. Whatever the answer, notice it without judgment. Awareness doesn't break the habit immediately, but it puts you back in the driver's seat. Step 2. Create sacred gaps. In Buddhist practice, there are deliberate pauses, moments between activities where you simply breathe and come back to yourself. You can build your own sacred gaps into a digital day. For example, before opening a social media app, take one slow breath. When you finish a YouTube video, instead of clicking the next recommendation right away, look out the window for 10 seconds. These small pauses act like speed bumps, slowing down the runaway train of distraction. Step 3. Anchor yourself in the present. One of the simplest, most profound Buddhist tools is the breath. Your breath is always here. It's your constant home. Try this when you're online. Every time you open a new tab or pick up your phone, notice your inhale and your exhale. Even one conscious breath can create space between you and the pull of the screen. That space is where stillness grows. Step 4. Protect your attention like a garden. Think of your attention as fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant there, news headlines, arguments, advertisements, will grow. If you're not intentional, your mental garden gets overrun with weeds. Set boundaries for your attention. Turn off non-essential notifications. Schedule check-in times for messages instead of letting them interrupt your flow. And choose one daily activity that you'll do without any screen: cooking, walking, or even drinking your morning coffee. Notice how your mind feels when it's not being tugged in 10 directions at once. Step 5. Live from the inside out. Buddhism reminds us, peace doesn't come from controlling the world, It comes from transforming how we meet it. You can't stop the internet from being noisy, but you can train yourself to stay steady in the noise. When you live from the inside out, you stop letting every notification decide your mood. You start choosing what deserves your attention and what doesn't. And that choice changes everything. A personal reflection. I once took a weekend trip to a cabin in the mountains. No Wi-Fi, no cell service. The first day felt unbearable. My hands kept reaching for a phone that had nothing to show me. But by the second day, something shifted. I started noticing the scent of pine in the air. I heard the rhythm of my own footsteps on the trail. My thoughts slowed down, like a river that finally stopped rushing. When I returned to the city, the noise was still there, but I wasn't as easily swept away by it. That weekend taught me that stillness isn't about escaping the world. It's about carrying a quiet center with you, no matter where you are. Your invitation. So here's the invitation. Starting today, find one moment in your day, just one, to pause, breathe, and return to yourself before you react to the digital world. That moment is not wasted time. It's a deposit into your inner peace account. Stillness isn't something you earn after the work is done or after the world quiets down. Stillness is something you practice in the middle of the noise. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to stay centered, even when everything around you is spinning. The scrolling will always be there. The feeds will never end. But your mind doesn't have to live in a constant state of refresh. You can choose to refresh yourself instead. In a culture that runs on speed, choosing stillness is a quiet rebellion. And maybe, just maybe, it's the rebellion that could save your peace. The unseen toll of constant connectivity. We all know we are spending a lot of time on screens. But if I asked you right now, how many hours a day are you really online? Would you know the number? For most people, the answer is shocking. Statistics show the average adult in the US spends over 7 hours a day looking at screens. That's nearly half our waking life. And if you factor in all the little just checking moments, at red lights, in line at the grocery store, before bed, first thing in the morning, it starts to feel like we're never truly offline. We tell ourselves it's harmless. But what if this constant connectivity is quietly reshaping our minds? What if the cost isn't just in hours, but in our ability to think, to rest, and to be present in our own lives? The subtle signs of digital overwhelm. Digital overwhelm doesn't always come with a big warning sign. It's sneaky. It might look like the low-grade anxiety you can't quite explain, or the way you open your phone for something simple, like checking the weather, and suddenly 15 minutes have disappeared into news articles and TikTok videos you didn't plan to watch. It shows up in restless sleep. Your body is exhausted, but your mind feels like it's still scrolling. Studies show that the blue light from screens suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals to your body it's time to sleep. But even more than that, it's the mental residue, the endless stream of images, opinions, and headlines still swirling in your head, that keeps you from truly resting. And maybe the most common sign of all, you can't focus the way you used to. You sit down to work, but every few minutes, you feel the itch to check your phone. You start reading a book, but halfway through a page, your mind drifts to whether you've gotten a reply to that message. It's not that you've lost willpower, it's that your attention has been trained to live in fragments. Why more information often means less understanding. Here's the paradox. We have access to more information than any generation in history. And yet, many of us feel less clear, less certain, and less grounded in what we know. Why? Because information without stillness becomes noise. Think about it. The human brain evolved to process a relatively small stream of data. The sound of your environment, the faces of your community, the stories told around a fire. Now, in a single morning, you might scroll past more news, opinions, and emotional triggers than someone 100 years ago encountered in a month. We mistake the constant intake of data for wisdom. But true understanding doesn't come from consuming more. It comes from integrating what we've already taken in. And integration requires space, silence, and reflection, all of which constant connectivity erodes. A personal moment of realization. I remember one night, lying in bed, mindlessly refreshing my newsfeed. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I just didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. But after 30 minutes of scrolling, I noticed something strange. My mind didn't feel fuller, it felt emptier. Not the good kind of empty, like meditation, the cluttered kind, when nothing settles. It hit me then. I wasn't using my phone. My phone was using me. What this means for our brains. Neuroscientists have a term for this: attention residue. Every time you switch your focus, a little bit of your attention stays stuck on the previous task. When you do this dozens, even hundreds of times a day, your brain is constantly juggling incomplete loops. And here's the kicker: your brain starts to adapt to this fractured state. The more you live in constant distraction, the harder it becomes to sustain deep focus, even when you want to. This is why many people find it difficult to sit in silence or to read a long article without checking their phone. It's not just a bad habit, it's neuroplasticity in action. Your brain has been rewired for short bursts of attention, reclaiming our inner space. So what do we do? How do we live in a connected world without losing ourselves in it? This is where ancient wisdom meets modern reality. In Buddhist practice, there's a simple but powerful principle: guard the doors of your senses. It doesn't mean shutting out the world. It means being mindful about what you let in, because everything you consume shapes your mind. You can start small. Turn off non-essential notifications. Create offline zones in your day. The first 30 minutes after waking, the last 30 before sleep. Replace one scrolling session with a moment of stillness. A walk, a few breaths, a cup of tea without a screen. These aren't just productivity hacks. They're ways of giving your mind the space to breathe, to process, to be human again. The bigger picture. Constant connectivity isn't just changing individuals. It's changing the way we, as a society, think, relate, and make decisions. A distracted culture is an impatient culture. We want instant answers, instant gratification, instant certainty, but the things that matter most in life rarely arrive instantly. If we want wisdom, depth, and meaningful connection, we have to slow down enough to let them grow. And that means learning to step back from the endless feed, even when it feels uncomfortable. Your invitation. Tonight, before you go to bed, resist the urge to take one last scroll. Instead, sit for a moment in quiet. Let your thoughts wander without being pulled into a screen. Feel what it's like to simply be with yourself. Because here's the truth: your mind wasn't made to run on a constant stream of updates. It was made to rest, to focus, to dream, and to create. The internet will always be there in the morning. But your peace, that's something you have to protect now. In a world that tells you more is always better, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose less. Buddhist wisdom for a hyper-connected world. Have you ever noticed how your phone has almost become a part of your body? You reach for it without thinking, you check it without a reason, and sometimes you find yourself scrolling without even remembering why you opened it in the first place. We live in a time where our attention is pulled in 1,000 directions at once. Notifications, breaking news, endless updates. It's like standing in the middle of a busy intersection with every billboard flashing your name. But here's the thing: this constant connection can actually leave us feeling deeply disconnected. Disconnected from ourselves, from the people right in front of us, and from the very moment we are living in. And this is where Buddhist wisdom, especially the practice of mindfulness, becomes a lifeline. Mindfulness is not just about meditation or sitting cross-legged in silence. At its core, it's the simple yet radical act of being here, right here, with what is. It's noticing your breath as it moves in and out. It's hearing the sound of the rain without reaching for your phone to film it. It's drinking your morning coffee without also checking 3 emails and a text. Mindfulness isn't about escaping life. It's about coming home to it. And in our hyper-connected world, mindfulness isn't just a spiritual idea, it's survival. When the digital noise gets too loud, one of the most powerful antidotes is to return to the present moment. You can start small. Before you pick up your phone, take one conscious breath. Feel the air move through you. Ask yourself, am I reacting or am I choosing? This single pause can be the difference between living on autopilot and actually steering your own life. Buddhist teachings also remind us of something we rarely think about when we're glued to our screens: impermanence. Everything changes. Every post, every update, every headline, it all rises and fades. The urgency we feel to check, to respond, to not miss out, is built on the illusion that what's online is permanent and urgent. But the truth? Just like waves in the ocean, it all dissolves. When we embrace impermanence, we loosen our grip. We realize we don't have to jump at every ping. We don't have to read every comment. We don't have to know every update the moment it happens. Life is still unfolding right here, in this breath, in this heartbeat. And when we learn to rest in that, we stop feeling like life is slipping away from us, and start realizing that life is already here. So maybe the real question isn't how do I keep up with everything, but what am I willing to slow down for? Because every time you choose to be present, whether it's by watching the sunset without posting it, or sharing a meal without checking your phone, you're reclaiming something that no amount of scrolling can give you, your life lived fully. And maybe, in a world that never stops talking, the most powerful thing you can do is listen. Listen to yourself. Listen to the people you love. Listen to the moment you're in, before it's gone. Practical digital detox techniques. Have you ever noticed that the first thing you touch in the morning and the last thing you put down at night isn't a person, isn't a book, isn't even a glass of water, it's your phone? For many of us, that little glowing rectangle has quietly become the center of our daily ritual. We wake up to it, we carry it everywhere, and sometimes we even fall asleep with it resting on our chest like a warm pet. But here's a question worth asking. If our devices are supposed to connect us, why do so many of us feel more distracted, more restless, and somehow more alone than ever? The truth is, constant connectivity comes at a cost. It fractures our focus, shortens our patience, and can even dull our capacity for real, deep connection. That's why, in this age of endless scrolling, we need something ancient and grounding, a practice that reclaims our time, our attention, and our peace of mind. And it starts with 3 simple but powerful habits you can begin today. The first is what I like to call the digital Sabbath. Imagine this, one day, or even just a few hours every week, where you are completely offline. No emails, no social media, no news alerts. Just you, your life, and the world around you. Think of it as a reset button for your nervous system. This isn't about rejecting technology. It's about creating space to remember who you are without it. Maybe your digital Sabbath is a Sunday afternoon spent cooking a slow meal, walking in the park, or reading that novel you've been meaning to finish. Or maybe it's a Saturday morning bike ride where your phone stays home and your mind is free to wander. You might be surprised how, at first, you feel a pull to just check. But over time, that urge fades, replaced by something richer, presence. The second practice is taming your notifications and organizing your apps so your phone serves you, not the other way around. Most of us have our devices set up in a way that invites distraction. Every ping, every red bubble, every flashing icon is a little digital hand tugging at your sleeve. Here's a radical idea. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Group similar apps into folders. Move social media off your home screen entirely. What you're doing is reclaiming control over when and how your attention is used. The result? Your phone becomes a tool, not a tyrant. And trust me, the world won't end if you don't see that text or email instantly. In fact, you'll find that most things in life can wait. And then there's the third practice, one that feels almost sacred. Creating screen-free spaces in your home and daily routine. This could be your dining table, your bedroom, or even a corner of your living room where no phone, tablet, or laptop is allowed. These spaces become little sanctuaries of presence. Imagine a dinner where everyone's eyes meet instead of staring down. Or a bedtime where the last thing you see isn't a glowing feed, but a dim lamp and the face of someone you love, or the calm of your own breath. These screen-free zones remind you that life happens here, not just in the palm of your hand. Some people might say, that's nice in theory, but my work or my family needs me to be reachable 24/7. And yes, we live in a world where digital connection is part of our responsibility. But here's the truth, boundaries don't shut people out, they keep you whole, so you can show up better when you do engage. The digital Sabbath isn't about disappearing, it's about returning. Smart notifications aren't about ignoring people, they're about prioritizing what truly matters. Sacred spaces aren't about rejecting technology, they're about reclaiming humanity. I'll share something personal. The first time I tried a digital Sabbath, I kept feeling this twitch in my hand, as if my phone was still there, even though it wasn't. It was uncomfortable. I was restless. But then something happened. I started hearing the sound of the wind in the trees. I noticed the way my dog's breathing slowed when he lay next to me. I found myself fully inside the moment, instead of observing it through a screen. And that night, I slept deeper than I had in months. The point is, these aren't just nice ideas for people with too much free time. They're practical, grounding tools for anyone who feels overwhelmed by the constant hum of digital life. You don't have to quit technology, you just have to take back the driver's seat. So here's my invitation. This week, choose one. Just one. Maybe it's half a day offline. Maybe it's clearing your home screen. Maybe it's declaring your bedroom a phone-free zone. And then notice, not just how it changes your day, but how it changes you. Because the truth is, our attention is the most precious thing we have. And every time we choose where to place it, we're not just shaping our day, we are shaping our life. Cultivating inner stillness daily. There's a quiet place inside you. A place that doesn't get shaken by the day's noise, the endless to-do list, or the constant hum of notifications. It's always there, waiting. The problem is, in our modern lives, we forget how to reach it. We get swept away by the rush, by work deadlines, grocery lists, and the pressure to stay on top of everything. But here's the truth. You don't need a silent retreat or a week in the mountains to reconnect with that inner stillness. You can touch it in just a few minutes, right where you are. One of the simplest ways is through a 5-minute mindful breathing exercise, especially in the middle of a busy workday. Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, your mind is juggling 10 different tasks, your inbox is a battlefield, and you feel your chest tighten. Instead of pushing through on autopilot, you stop. You close your eyes. You inhale slowly through your nose, letting the breath fill your lungs completely. You exhale gently, feeling the air leave your body. For 5 minutes, that's all you do. Breathe and notice. No problem solving. No mental rehearsals. Just the rhythm of life moving in and out of you. It's astonishing how something so small can shift your entire day. You start to realize that stillness isn't about escaping the storm. It's about finding the calm in the middle of it. But what if you're not sitting still? What if you're commuting, running errands, or moving through a crowded hallway at work? That's where walking meditation or mindful movement comes in. You don't need incense or special cushions, just your own body in motion. The next time you walk to your car, take the stairs, or wait in line at the store, notice your steps. Feel the ground under your feet. Notice how your body moves without you even having to think about it. Maybe you hear the sound of your shoes on the pavement, or the murmur of voices around you. In these moments, you're no longer rushing to get there. You're already here. And life feels fuller when you stop treating the in-between moments as wasted time. Another powerful tool is cultivating the observer mindset, the art of watching your thoughts and digital impulses without getting hooked. Imagine you're scrolling on your phone and you feel that familiar tug. One more article, one more video, one more notification. Instead of following the urge automatically, you pause. You notice the thought, I should check. You notice the sensation, a little restlessness, maybe even a hit of excitement. But you don't judge it, and you don't immediately react. You just watch it, like watching clouds pass across the sky. This space between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. When you start to live as the observer, you discover that you are not your thoughts, and you are not your urges. They come and go, like waves in the ocean. You don't have to surf every single one. You can let some pass. And that simple choice, to observe rather than react, can ripple out into every part of your life. You become less reactive in conversations, more patient in traffic, and more present with the people you love. I'll be honest, at first, these practices might feel almost too simple. Your mind will tell you they're not enough. But stillness is not about complexity, it's about depth. A 5-minute breath can be deeper than an hour of distraction. A mindful walk can reveal more than 100 rushed ones. And a single moment of awareness, where you see a thought without being trapped by it, can change how you meet the entire day. You might ask, but can these small practices really make a difference? Let me tell you, they already have, for thousands of years. Buddhist monks, long before smartphones and email, used these exact techniques to stay anchored in the present. And now, in a world that moves faster than ever, they're more relevant, not less. So here's my invitation for you. Today, choose one doorway into stillness. Maybe it's a 5-minute breathing pause between meetings. Maybe it's turning your walk to the mailbox into a moment of mindful presence. Maybe it's catching yourself before you tap that next notification and simply watching the urge fade away. Whatever you choose, commit to it, even for just a week, and see what changes. Because the truth is, stillness isn't something you find out there. It's something you return to, again and again, inside yourself. And the more you practice, the more you'll realize you are never really far from it. Your path to sustainable calm. Here's the thing about calm. It's not something you find once and then keep forever. It's not like a souvenir you bring home from a trip and put on a shelf. Calm is something you cultivate, like a garden. And in our fast, always-on world, That garden needs consistent care. The challenge is, many people think they have to unplug completely or radically change their lives to feel at peace. But you don't. You don't need to give up your phone, quit your job, or move to a cabin in the woods. You can integrate calm into your daily life without feeling disconnected from the world or overwhelmed by one more thing to do. The key is to start small and make it sustainable. Maybe it's pausing for a single deep breath before you answer an email. Maybe it's keeping your mornings quiet for the first 10 minutes after waking up. No notifications, no news, no scrolling. Or maybe it's turning your evening walk into a mindful practice, noticing your steps instead of rushing through them. The point is, you weave these moments into the fabric of your life so they don't feel like extra tasks. They become part of how you live. When you approach it this way, you don't lose essential connectivity, you gain intentionality. Instead of being pulled into the digital tide whenever it calls, you choose when to dive in and when to rest on shore. And that choice? That's freedom. Over time, these small, consistent practices begin to transform you from the inside out. Your focus sharpens, you find yourself less scattered, more present in the work you're doing. Stress starts to loosen its grip, not because life becomes easier, but because you've built a steady anchor inside yourself. And something beautiful happens to your relationships. You connect more deeply with people. When you're not half listening with one eye on your phone, you really hear them. You notice their expressions, the pauses in their voice, the unspoken things they're trying to say. You become more available, not just physically, but emotionally. I can tell you from experience, these benefits don't appear overnight. They grow slowly, almost quietly. One day you realize you're less reactive in traffic. Another day you notice you slept better without your phone on the nightstand. And eventually, you look back and realize your life feels less like a race and more like a steady walk, one you're actually enjoying. So here's my invitation to you. Don't wait for the perfect time to start. Don't wait until you're burned out or overwhelmed. Choose one small step today. Maybe it's silencing your notifications for an hour. Maybe it's putting your phone in another room during dinner. Maybe it's simply taking 3 deep breaths before you start your car. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to yourself again and again, until calm is no longer something you chase, but something you carry. Because at the end of the day, the calm you're looking for isn't hiding in a distant retreat or waiting for you in some perfect future. It's here. It's now. It's in your next breath, if you choose to notice it.